The 90s wasn't just a golden age in gaming, but also a golden age in wrestling. Names like Hulk Hogan, Sting, and Goldberg didn't just belong to the wrestlers, but also thousands of people who pretended to be them while fighting their siblings in their living room. As the youngest of three boys, I never stood a chance. Living room matches broke out, and whether it was a choke slam or a power bomb, I always ended up on the couch. It's honestly surprising I made it out of childhood in one piece, but looking back, those chaotic living room matches were more than just fun, they were part of what made that era unforgettable. Due to the popularity of wrestling and gaming, it was only natural to mix the two. While not the first wrestling game released on the Nintendo 64, WCW NWO Revenge is lauded as one of the best. A sequel to World Tour, which was released a year earlier, it retained most of what made World Tour a success and added onto it. Boasting a roster of over 60 wrestlers, it features smoother animations, faster speed, and improved character AI. Now while I couldn't take my brothers in a real fight, luckily there was a way to fight back, and that was with the controller. No, I didn't bash them over the head with it, though thinking back they probably deserved it, but games like this let me and little brothers everywhere finally beat the crap out of our older brothers. I don't actually ever remember playing this one, as we always played World Tour, so it's nice to have some variety even after all this time. The only difference now is instead of fighting my siblings, I'm fighting my own kids, and hopefully creating some of those moments they'll be the ones looking back on with nostalgia. But this isn't about my childhood nostalgia or World Tour, so let's get to the point. WCW NWO Revenge was developed by Asmik Ace Entertainment and AKI Corporation, which actually went on to work on the Def Jam titles, which is another great series. On the Nintendo 64 though, they were responsible for World Tour, WWF No Mercy, and WWF WrestleMania 2000. All games that rank in the top 50 best-selling on the console. Published by THQ and released October 26, 1998, and ended up going on to sell 1.8 million copies during its lifespan, placing it number 26th for most copies sold of a Nintendo 64 game. A pretty impressive feat considering it was never bundled with a console. Given how well it sold, I found it odd there wasn't a story mode. But after looking into the politics of 90s wrestling, I quickly realized they'd have to rewrite the entire plot after every match. Instead, the wrestlers are broken down into different leagues. New World Order, White and Red, Raven's Flock, and WCW being the main ones, with two additional factions, EWF and DAW, which held fictional characters. While lacking a story, the game did include multiple game modes, including a championship mode, which plays out in an arcade-style format where you compete against multiple challengers until you face off against one of 5 belt holders to win the championship. The divisions are broken down into Cruiserweight, United States Heavyweight, World Tag Team, World Heavyweight, and finally the TV title. Defeating the champion results in them joining your roster and replacing their grayed out image in the menu with the character that you were using. In addition to the championship, there's also an exhibition mode and a battle royale where you win by being the last person in the ring. To consider this one complete, I figure the most logical thing to do would be to fight my way through each division and win all the belts. Now despite what my 5-year-old daughter will tell you, buttons have meanings. She may be able to beat her brothers by just mashing buttons in a hilarious fashion, but I think I'll need a little more than that to win the belts. There is an in-game menu that shows you the basic controls, and while this is enough to get by for the most part, for a good understanding of what's actually going on, you have to break open the manual. Here you're met with tons of photos of the wrestlers, and out of the 25 pages which actually have information about the game, 9 of them talk about controls. That's a lot considering as how the game is known for being so easy to pick up and play. While the controls are a lot deeper than they appear on the surface, the majority of the actions performed are weak and strong attacks and grapples. Triggering a weak attack is done by pressing the B button quickly, while a strong attack is done by holding the button down. Weak attacks are harder to counter but deal less damage, and strong attacks deal more damage but leave you vulnerable to counters for longer. Grappling follows the same system and allows you to perform a variety of moves depending on the type of grapple initiated. All attacks can be blocked or countered by pressing the right trigger, while left trigger has you duck out of the way from or counter a grapple. These are good to use when approaching another enemy as to not get grappled yourself. The C buttons allow you to do a variety of things depending upon where you are and what situation you're in. C up, for instance, can be used to grab an item from the crowd if you're outside of the ring, or tag your team partner to let them in. While fighting, you build up a spirit meter, which serves both as your health bar and how you unlock your special move. When the meter is low, you're more susceptible to being pinned, while raising it puts you into a state where it begins to flash. While flashing, if you taunt using the joystick, you enter into the special mode, which allows you to strong grapple an opponent and perform the wrestler's special move by moving the joystick once again. This system in theory doesn't sound too bad, but during fights the shifting of the spirit meter can make matches take way longer than they should. This is due in part to the fact that after using a special, your meter essentially resets, putting you back on par with your opponent. You can have your opponent down to their lowest point on the meter, which makes it start flashing danger, and within a hit or two they're back up and matching or even exceeding your own meter. It seemed most fights I would start and beat up the enemy, getting them to the point I was able to use my special move, but unable to pin them due to them kicking out early in the fights despite having such a low meter. This can go on for a while, and I found that around the 10-minute mark was the point at which I could pretty reliably start pinning opponents. 10 minutes feels like a long time, especially when you take into consideration during the championships you have to fight your way through 8 opponents before having to fight the belt holder. This made the championship mode feel like an unnecessary slog to get through, and I started going for countouts, which is when you make your opponent stay out of the ring for 20 seconds and win automatically. I was able to accomplish this by throwing the opponent out of the ring via heavy attack while they were on the ropes, then exiting the ring myself and grabbing an item from the crowd. I'd try to crowd control the opponent by continuing to knock them down. I found the best method to be waiting until they were standing up and running at them with an item and then attacking. This results in a large sweeping attack that knocks them down for a few seconds. While on the ground, I could normally get 4 attacks in on them before they started to get up again, and then I'd just repeat the process. Not exactly the most graceful way to win a match, but after fighting 5 opponents fairly, it just kinda gets to the point where you're ready to move on. The game is great in short bursts, playing 1 or 2 matches at a time, but fighting your way through over an hour of opponents with no way to save felt a bit much. But I wanted to get those belts, so I just went ahead and endured through it. The customization options of the game were way more than I expected. You can change the names, clothes, the clothing color, and the mask of each individual wrestler. You could in theory make your own wrestler by replacing one on the roster, but you'd be stuck with their visuals and whatever movesets they have. I tried finding out exactly how many movesets are in the game, but didn't really come up with an official number. I did see there are over 300 different moves, and many of the wrestlers have their own official moves that they're known for. It was pretty cool to see Booker T doing the old spinneroonie again, and it was something I had completely forgotten about. After facing him, I actually used him for the TV title so that I could be the one axe kicking people in the back of the head. The movesets for each fighter aren't displayed anywhere, and it's something you just have to learn by trying out different wrestlers. The Giant and Goldberg, for instance, won't get on top of the ropes while running towards a turnbuckle, but approaching them with Rey Mysterio Jr. has you flying around like a spider monkey. The most satisfying move in the entire game that I found, though, was Goldberg's spear. I had a hard time in tag team matches because whenever you pin someone, their partner would run in and kick you, which cancels the count. With Goldberg, though, it was super easy to control both opponents at once. Spearing the inactive teammate off the side of the ring allowed me time to move in and execute a pin without getting interrupted. You can perform the same move with any character, but it seemed like anytime I tried it with someone other than Goldberg, they would just lean back and avoid the move altogether. Goldberg ended up being my favorite to play because of his ability to control opponents, and I used him in both the tag team title and world heavyweight divisions. His ability to control multiple opponents came in even more handy when a second person would randomly enter the fight. I found as soon as you can get them out of the ring, they don't come back in and they just stand around. So being able to spear someone out or control them long enough until they left on their own was really helpful. Second to Goldberg for me was Rey Mysterio Jr. The speed at which you can combo moves with rope work felt really satisfying, and it was fun to see what you could come up with next. As fun as the game can be playing alone, where it really shines though is the multiplayer. There was just something about the way that the N64 handled it, and it made it much more fun than couch co-op of today. The simplicity of just plugging in a controller and pressing start has been muddled by having to log into profiles, adding guests, or remembering passwords. It used to be when your buddies came over, they brought their controllers, plugged them in, and you were good to go. Throw in some Mario Kart, Mountain Dew, and Doritos, and you'd have yourself all set for a good sleepover. If you got bored, you could just go outside to the yard and throw each other around like you were in the ring. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed my little trip down memory lane. Games like this really bring on the nostalgia for me and are super fun to take a look back at. When reviewing this game, I ended up going down a rabbit hole and watching old WCW matches until 4 in the morning, and I regret nothing. Looking back, most of them were absolutely ridiculous, over-the-top spectacles. But I have to admit, even now, I had an absolute blast watching all the legends run around the ring. If you had a favorite wrestler or brothers who used to chokeslam you into furniture, let me know down in the comments. I hope y'all have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one.